Hi everyone, it's me Darlene in a different part of my room. The window that's usually behind me, it's daytime and it's very bright even though I have blinds. So I'm sitting with the window over there right now. So it's facing me and I just thought I'd try this position. I want to talk a little bit about my childhood and something that I never really realized was off until I read somebody else's story. Maybe a couple years ago, I read an ebook about a woman who had a narcissistic mother, and there were so many things that were similar to my experiences, and one thing in particular stuck out because it was something that always bothered me as a child, and it's something that I still think about to this day, but I wasn't really convinced that there was anything wrong with how that played out. I'm being mysterious. I was sent to doctors and dentists all alone, with no mother with me. Specifically dentists. Now here's a little backstory. I was petrified of having anything done to my teeth. I was the person who let a tooth, dangle until it just would naturally fall off. I didn't want to chew. I would cry. I was so afraid of pain. And then when my grown-up teeth came in, I don't even know what to call them, I just didn't want to go to the dentist. I don't really remember being told we need to take you to a dentist. I just was afraid, and I'll tell you why. Because my mother would say that it hurt so much to go to a dentist, that it was just so painful. I also had older brothers, and one in particular used to like to scare me. So I was petrified. I just didn't want to go to a dentist ever. So my 4 front teeth ended up developing cavities here, here, and here, between my 4 front teeth, which affected all 4 of those teeth. The cavities got to be so big that not only was I always embarrassed, because if I smiled, it was quite visible that I had cavities in my front teeth, but, it got to the point it just hurt so much. So I had to go to the dentist to get those cavities taken care of, which led to a lifelong issue of always having fillings in my front teeth. Even though they were white fillings, they would stain and all that. And that led me to eventually having my teeth crowned, because I always wanted the teeth that I felt I should have had to begin with, because I don't think it's a child's decision to say, I'm not going to the dentist. And I should have never been that afraid to go to the dentist. So I don't ever once remember going to the dentist with somebody there who brought me or waited for me. I rode my bike, my Stingray bike with a banana seat. The big monkey bars, is that what we called them? Can't remember what we called the bars. And I know I was around 10 or 11 when I had the fillings done, and it was the scariest thing to me. I would lose sleep over it. I couldn't believe I had to go alone, but then on the other hand, I thought, well, I'm only afraid because I'm not normal. I'm damaged. I'm a sick girl, a sick little girl. My mother would always tell me that the doctors told her that there was something really wrong with me and I was never going to get better. So I always thought it's because I'm so messed up that I'm afraid. Other kids would not be afraid. So I used to justify the fact that I felt that way because there was something wrong with me. There was certainly nothing wrong with my mother. I was even more convinced that I was so awful that I didn't deserve to have my mother with me at the dentist. And my mother did not work outside the home. She could have taken me to the fucking dentist. but I don't have any memories of ever having somebody with me at the dentist. And I remember one time in particular, it was after I had my fillings, that I believe it was a sugar daddy got stuck to the back of my teeth, and at some point it took a filling out. And I had to go to the dentist alone, again on my bike. And it was a day that Ronald McDonald was coming to my McDonald's. And I was so sad that I thought I would have to miss that. And I was also afraid. All I can remember is, I don't remember the appointment itself, but I remember sitting behind McDonald's crying. And it was after the appointment, and I was just so sad that I was so alone, but I was happy that I was going to get to see Ronald McDonald. And I did. And he rode around in the little car, and I stayed there until whenever he left, and then I went home. And again, I was probably 12. I know I was on my Stingray bike. I'm not even sure if that's what they were called, but you know what I mean. The 1970s bike with the banana seat, the big handlebars, and I used to put cards in my spokes so it would make noise. That was such a vivid memory for me that I was so afraid to go to the dentist. I mean, so afraid, and I can't wrap my head around it. And it makes me so upset now that my mother would do that to me, to any child. Send a very scared child to a dentist all alone. I had to have teeth pulled out because, again, my teeth were bad because I didn't have any dental care growing up. And this is when I was 12. I had to have 2 teeth pulled out. They did one side one day, another side another day. I was completely alone. I would take myself to the dentist and then come back. And at one of those appointments, I had to go home to my grandmother because my mother had had a heart attack and was in the hospital. And I remember my grandmother giving me a wet tea bag to put where, my teeth were just pulled, and just crying because I was so sure my mother was going to die. And it's just messed up. So that's the dentist life that I had. And I continued to be afraid of dentists, but I didn't want really ugly teeth as I was getting older. And I always said, one of these days, I started at 20, I wanted crowns, but I couldn't afford it back then. And I just always said, one of these days, one of these days, one of these days. And I did. I wore braces for like a year and a half, and then I had all my teeth crowned, except for the back ones. Now, as for doctors, I also went to doctors alone. And the only time I ever remember my mother going to a doctor with me and going in the room with me is so she could tell the doctor how awful I was. And I remember being very young, probably 4 or 5, and the doctor talked to my mother in a separate room, and I was hysterical. We came in and I could hear her telling him awful things about me, and I was just hysterical. I didn't know what was going to happen. I thought I was going to be whisked away and put away somewhere. It was just very, very scary. That, I will never forget it. It was like so damaging to me. And another time, when I was 9 years old in school, I was having a drink of water from a fountain, and a boy came and hit me on the head with a book. I think he liked me. I don't know. And my eye got cut right here when it hit the little, the silver part. And the school called and said I looked like I might need some stitches. I was dropped off at the doctor's office, and I had to go there alone and have stitches alone. I was 9. I had never had stitches. Again, I was petrified. And then I had to walk home after that. It's just, after you're done, just come home. And I got home and my mother wasn't even there. So that was fun. These are things I remember clearly, and my mother would deny that any of that ever happened. I mean, she just would say, I was, what are you? You are so sick. You can't even imagine how sick you are that you can make stuff like that up. So it's just the way it is. So that woman in that book that I had read, ebook, she explained how she used to have to go to the doctor alone and how it was awful, and how she felt like it meant she was supposed to be so grown up, but she knew she was a child and it didn't feel right. And that's exactly how I feel and how I felt then. I knew other kids went to doctors with a parent, and it didn't feel good to go there alone. So even if it was the normal thing to do, to just send a child to a doctor all by themselves, it didn't feel good to me. And my mother should have been like, oh, well, don't worry, we won't send you there alone. But, I just, I had to just believe that it was the way it was, that I was supposed to go to the dentist, especially all alone, my most scariest thing in the world. And I had to just go there alone. And I can't even believe that I would actually go. I mean, I don't know. It's like, I feel like I should have just run away from home at that point, but I didn't. I had no choice. I knew it would be discovered if I didn't go to the appointment, so I really was kind of trapped. And it has bothered me all my life that shit like that happened. Okay, just thought I'd share that. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back with more soon. Bye.